Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the last episode, you saw we removed the motor and transmission, got the brakes off. I got the vacuum booster pulled off, the master cylinder right here for now. We got the emergency brake pulled out from inside the cab. Got the gas pedal pulled out. Everything is disassembled from the body to be removed from the chassis. All I have to do is loosen the body mount bolts. We also pulled the sound deadening out in preparation for cutting out the trans tunnel and then cutting some for the drive shaft. I'm not sure how much of a tunnel we'll have to do with that yet. So the cab's ready for the next step, as well as the frame. We also, in the last episode, installed the Coyote motor. So this is all ready to go for mock-up. I still have to modify the rear bed mounts in the front, but we'll get to that when it's time. I'm ready to get this cab set onto that frame and get this body on the ground. Pull the covers off the wheels, it's gonna look good. All right, enough talking, let's get back to it. Have the transmission marked up the best I can with measurements. I went off the body mounts, came back, got an idea, measured somewhat the height for the bell housing, and then the width. It's centered on this frame. Everything's centered there, but the doghouse on this truck from factory is not centered. As you can see, centered would be somewhere in here. So it's going to be cut, and some of this is going to go bye-bye with it. Not sure how much, but I marked where I feel would be a good starting point. It's going to come down and take this piece out. This is going to have to come over. I'm sure I'm gonna have to trim this even further and take more of this out, the sound deadening. But for now, you can see it's marked there, around, up, right there. And then the other side is marked kind of right on the inside of that lip till I see how much room I need. All right, let's get to trimming. Tunnel's cut out. We'll probably have to modify and cut more, but this is just a starting point. So we'll go ahead and pull the tools out. I'll move the truck a little more forward, and then we're gonna figure out how we're gonna use the hoist. We'll start taking off the cab bolts. We'll get all 4 loose, and then we'll figure out how we're gonna use the hoist. I'll use the engine leveler sideways, and I'll make some brackets to these seat points. There's a cross member that goes all the way across the bottom of the body. So I'll be able to use that as a lift point. And we'll see if we can get this onto this chassis. This side I know will clear. It's this side that's not centered on this side of the cab that we may have to lift it up a little, put some jack stands under it so it's a little stable, cut some more, then put it down. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. That way you can see and get updates as I'm finishing this build. After doing some measuring, I don't want to have to lift the cab up off the new chassis too many times. So I went ahead and measured center from point to point. Oh, that's better. Measured from there to there, centered it, and then measured over, and had to cut some more out of the driver's side. So now we should be close or just enough room to go ahead and set that cab over this massive transmission. It's just tall. Not too bad, but yeah, it's tall. Now we can move forward and get the body bolts out. And like I said, we'll get some mounts made up, some straps or something, and we'll see what we can do. So these are the brackets I was talking about. They're gonna bolt up just like this through them holes. Then I'll have a spot for the chain hook to go through. I'm gonna figure out what size bolts these are, and I'm going to make the bolts longer, and I'll have a plate underneath this as well. That way it'll secure a lot better and a lot safer. One for both sides, and then the other end is gonna X and hook to the body mounts on the outside. Possibly. We'll see. first attempt didn't work. It was more top heavy in the front. I only had the chains set up in between here. So now I have the leveler set up this way. Chains set up and it's offset more to the driver's side as the driver's side's heavier. And I have these chains hooked to the front body mounts. If this doesn't work, then we're gonna have to figure out another way. I don't want to do the way that I see online and everyone using, is they take and build a board that goes and bolts into the end down there of the hoist, and it sits on top and it lifts it up by the cab top. I really don't want to do it that way, so we'll have to figure it out. Worst case scenario, I have to call and get some extra hands on deck and get it off that way. That way ain't gonna work, not alone at least. I may have to get a couple people to help me balance it. As you saw, this thing does not wanna stay balanced at all. Got 4 points, but it definitely does not wanna pick up level. You go to hold it one way, it wants to fall that way, this way, any way it wants. It's literally like sitting atop trying to stand it up. It doesn't make sense. It does not like this. So I'll see what else I can figure out. Like I said, I don't want to do the board trick where I put it up on the roof. I don't like that idea. Floating in the air real quick. Show you guys how it's set up. Nothing's touching. Sitting still, floating. With this door shut, it off balanced everything. I have to keep that door open. I didn't want to take the doors off. I didn't want to get that deep into it in case there's rust in the cowl. It could get a lot worse than we want it to be. So I'm just going to take off the minimal amount of hardware because we don't know what it's going to be under there. Got some straps holding it because it wants to teeter a lot. So very slightly moving, but not much. It's balanced pretty good. So I'll set the camera back up and we'll real slowly get this thing off. It's not far. I only need a couple more inches and then I can get that back lip up over the frame. And once we do that, I'll bring it back here. And I may set these guys up underneath it if I have the room. If not, I'll get the taller jack stands. Whatever we gotta do to keep it kind of balanced. All right, that's a success. That's a lot better, a lot easier to handle the way I have it now. Right now it's just got jack stands underneath it just for a precaution, for in case the hoist decides to fail or something, the ram on the hoist. But it's chained up like I showed you earlier. Engine leveler, 2 mounting points, and then I got it wrapped through the trans tunnel for now. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to set it down and around the transmission, so we're gonna find out. But what I'd like to do for right now is to get this positioned lower, because I obviously don't have to go that high. Well, maybe I do. I might have to tuck it up over the middle. But for now, we'll get this frame pushed out the way, and we'll get the other one pushed into place while this one sits here like it is. I wouldn't say it's fully, if I grabbed it, it'd move. But like I said, I have the jack stand on this side is touching, this side's not. I have it leaned on purpose. It'll make it easier to get up over, but I have to go over the transmission. So that whole side will have to come over, but I could leave it at that height and then take it over. Once I get it on that height, then I'll be able to use jack stands. I should be underneath the body to do any trimming or whatever I need to do. I shouldn't have to take the cab completely off the chassis like it is now. If I do, well, we'll set it back up. With multiple attempts, the body mounts are pretty much seized on. I've put liquid wrench in it, let it sit for a little while, tried prying them apart, that didn't work. And the other trick is to run a bolt through the top, smack it, and it should pop the two apart. Neither one are working. So I'll soak it a little more on all of them and then come back to that later. I want to get the chassis up in the air to where the legs can go underneath it and get this cab set into place where it's close to where it's going to be. I'll measure the height of these, and then I might be able to use the core support. I might be able to borrow the rubber from them, or I'll just make temporary spacers if I need to, and we'll order some new ones. But we'll keep moving forward. body mounts are all just sitting there. The cab and the frame are separated, as the pieces of rubber that I showed you I was going to use temporarily are shorter than those mounts. I've tried again, those aren't budging. So we'll have to get some other body mounts. Looks good though, looks real good. Just a little bit of trimming, it looks like, on the driver's side. But it fits in there. It's, yeah, it's what it's gonna be. Like I said, this side's got plenty of room. We come around the driver's side. And there'll be some additional trimming on this side. As you can see, it's not touching, but I'm gonna bring it over a little bit extra and closer to this bolt. We're gonna probably bring it down right here. And then we'll come down around here and then meet it back right here. We won't cut no more here. We got plenty of room for all that. We'll be able to make the tunnel come up, and then the drive shaft, obviously. We'll have to figure out where we're gonna cut in the middle of there. Once we pretty much, I'll run like a string, or we'll figure out how to get that lined up with the back. Doors are, gosh, I want to say a 1/4 inch for touching the floor. The motor's got a nice amount of room around it on the back. So yeah, like I said, you can see the body mounts. The motor, or the body, has to come forward a little bit, maybe an inch, so it'll tuck this side a little more, and then the whole cab has to go over that way an inch. So the whole thing has to come forward an inch and over an inch in this corner. It's not perfectly lined up or bolt up, but it's close. Go ahead and close this door. It's going to be tucked for right now. I'm going to go ahead and order the body bushings for the whole cab. Then once we do that, once the body is where it belongs and I got it snugged down, then we can go ahead and cut where we need to cut around the transmission and get that tunnel started, as well as the drive shaft tunnel. But that's gonna be it for this one. Make sure to subscribe, turn on that notification button. That way you get notified when we got updates on this. Like I said, on the next one, we'll get the body bushings in, we'll get them snugged up, then we'll start working on that trans tunnel and get that drive shaft tunnel knocked out. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching.